Dickey. He is the defense attorney for Luigi Mangione. And Thomas, I appreciate your time. And obviously, you are dealing with this, your other cases as well in court today. The NYPD commissioner tonight is announcing that the gun that your client had on him when he was arrested in Pennsylvania at that McDonald's, they are saying that specific gun matches the 3 shell casings at the scene of the murder in New York. What's your response to that from the New York NYPD commissioner tonight?
Yes, Aaron. Thank you for having me, first of all. Aaron, I still haven't seen that evidence. Lawyers need to see evidence. Those saying you have something and getting that admitted into court are 2 different things. In fact, so what we're talking about is fingerprint evidence and some ballistics. Those 2 sciences in and of themselves have come under some criticism in the past relative to their credibility, their truthfulness, their accuracy, however you want to do it. So that's why, as lawyers, we need to see it. We need to see how do they collect it, how much of it matches. I don't want to get too technical, but fingerprints, they go by ridges, different things like that. And then we would have our experts. We would have experts take a look at that. And then we would challenge its admissibility and challenge the accuracy of those results.
So, when you mention it's the ballistics, but also the fingerprints, when you're talking about fingerprints and the ridges on the fingerprints, you just mentioned specifically, the NYPD does say those fingerprints match the fingerprints, your client's fingerprints match the fingerprints on the water bottle and that kind bar near the murder scene. So is what you're saying that you're not sure that the methodology that they're using or the company that or however that they're matching those fingerprints, you're not confident in that?
Well, I'd have to see it. I mean, anybody can, if they're going to use it, of course they're going to say that. But you have to see things. And that's why, people need to keep an open mind. And, we would get our day in court and we would get that evidence. We can examine that evidence and challenge it. All the way.
At this point,
we'll do so.
Has your client said anything to you? Or, are you disputing that he was in New York City?
I'm not going to get in any communications between my client and I. That's not proper. And again, if and when formal charges are filed, no question that my client would indicate a plea of not guilty.
No question that so you're sure it'll be a not guilty plea. Do you know when you're going to get?
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
Yeah, the burden of proof is always on the government. Okay, so again, people forget that he and any other person charged with a crime is presumed innocent. That means we start off square one with a presumption of innocence of him being innocent. And the rest then follows, and then we challenge the evidence and contest it and battle it out in court where it belongs.
Right. Well, it's important though that you're indicating there's no question that he would have a plea for not guilty when he makes that plea. May I just ask you, though, Thomas, just your sense of the situation? They're putting out, the NYPD commissioner is saying, right, that the ballistics match. The NYPD is saying that the fingerprints match. You're saying you haven't seen this evidence. Are you frustrated that you haven't seen it? Are you trying to get your hands on that at this time?
Yeah, unfortunately, the way the process works is we don't get it right away. They don't have to give it to us, until certain times and certain spots as the case moves forward. I'm trying to get my hands on as much as I can, but again, you have to see it. You can't examine something and comment on it. And that's what's frustrating about it, because we get to see it and we get to hire our own experts and look at it and all the methodology that's involved in it and challenge it.
So when you talk
that's
about
my duty to my client, and I welcome that.
No, I understand, and that's the way this would go. I am curious, though. I know that when you've talked about his mental health, such that you've interacted with him so far, especially in the context of the rage that he displayed yesterday when he showed up at court, you said that he, from what you could see, he's able to make quote unquote knowing decisions. So it just seems to me, and I don't want to get ahead of it, but it seems to me very clear that what you're saying is that you are going to plead not guilty, not guilty by way of insanity or anything like that, just a plain and simple, clear not guilty.
Yeah. So first of all, about this outrage, he's irritated, agitated about what's happening to him and what he's being accused of. He never had any legal representation until he walked into that building yesterday. And I talked to him. And if you notice, look at the film, look at the difference between when he went in and when he come out. So once he got in, he finally had legal representation. I like to think he had somebody that he can trust and has faith in, and now he has a spokesperson and someone that's going to fight for him. And so I think you'll see a big difference in the demeanor. And I think that part of that, whatever you want to interpret that as yesterday, was a lot of the frustration of being a young man thrown in jail and being accused of very serious matters.
So just to be clear, and but to be clear, you didn't meet him then. So when we see that rage, you haven't had a chance at that point to have spoken to him or seen him. Your first meeting was actually when he went in the courtroom. Yeah.
No, actually, that was into a holding area, and I was on the other side of that. So my first contact with him visually was, before you had a chance to speak with him, was him coming through that door, and you saw the interaction between he and the sheriff's department, and then look at the video of him coming out, and look at the difference. He's now had legal counsel. I was upset that he didn't have any legal counsel prior to that. That extradition hearing came upon really quick, and he hadn't talked to anybody.
So, Thomas, do you know at this point why he was in Altoona?
Again, that would be their burden to prove. Again, I can't get into any communications between that occurred between my client and myself.
Have you been
I'm bound by law that I can't do that.
So I was laying out in the introduction the timeline here, right? That his mother said she spoke to him on July 1st, and then 140 days went by between that conversation and the day that she reported him missing in San Francisco. Have you had a chance to speak with her or any other family members at this point?
Again, I'm not going to get into that. I'm not going to get into what my investigation has been up to this point. I appreciate the job you guys do as reporters, because I'm actually using different news reports as my source of information, because nobody's sharing these evidentiary things with me. And again, unfortunately, I can't get into my oath and my duty, my loyalties to my client, and I can't get into certain things. And again, I'm biting at the bit, so to speak, waiting to get my hands on this stuff so we can start attacking it.
Right. Now, I want to ask you one thing, if I may, before we go, and maybe you'll be able to give an answer to this one
Sure.
In a more fulsome way. But police say that Mangione gave them a forged New Jersey ID, when they apprehended him at that McDonald's in Altoona, and that ID, I'm showing it here, I don't know if you can see it, Thomas, but it's the ID under the name Mark Rosario when he was arrested. They say that matches the ID that the man at the hostel used in New York. That's the photo that we're showing here. That's him. There were two there. One when he is smiling at the person checking him in, and then the other one, the two times we saw his face in New York. When you look at this, and I mean, this is you as a lawyer, you as a citizen, do you think that those pictures look alike, the ID and the actual video captures that they have of the man?
First of all, I cannot see them. You threw a compound question. Being a lawyer, I am a citizen, but I'm in different roles when I'm a citizen and as a lawyer. I am Luigi's lawyer. I've entered pleas of not guilty to the charges in Pennsylvania. We have a hearing scheduled, I believe, for December 23rd. That's when they're going to at least introduce some evidence. Like I said, I'm dying to get my hands and my eyes on this stuff so I can examine.
So you don't think you're going to get that evidence until December 23rd? Let's just be clear. That's a Monday, the day before Christmas Eve.
I'm going to try to get it beforehand. Technically, under the rules, they don't have to give it to me until we have the hearing, and that's frustrating.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Rules.
Yeah, it is. So you would have it by that day at the latest. You're going to try to get it before then. Thomas, I appreciate your time, and thank you very much.
Correct.
I appreciate it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you for having me, and keep an open mind, everybody, please. Thank you.